Saturation can smoothen sound, make your audio sound more pleasing and reduce harshness. In this video I'll show you how the PSP Saturator can improve basically any audio track by applying saturation on specific frequencies. It can go from this to this by using only PSP Saturator. For PSP Audioware, I'm Marlon of White Noise Studio. This video will be a real-world demonstration of how the PSP Saturator works and of course sounds. I will demonstrate that on a few individual tracks and group buses of this loud stoner rock song. If I turn off all Saturator instances, it sounds like this. And let me turn them on. The first thing you have probably noticed is the increase in thickness, high frequencies and richness. This is all due to the settings I used in PSP Saturator. Let's dive in to understand how I used PSP Saturator on some of these tracks. Disclaimer, every track already has had some form of processing in one way or the other, and Saturator is used here as a finalizing touch in which it excels in my opinion. Kick, snare, overheads and master bass. These 4 tracks are where Saturator shines the most in this song, but I will let you hear almost all tracks. The kick is up first. Without Saturator, the kick is more mid-rangey, and with Saturator it is larger than life. To get this sound, I set the low frequency, which has a tape-like bump, to 60 Hz. This will really make you feel that low end. Dial in the amount of saturation, nicely called warmth, and the level to taste. For the attack of the kick, I really like to have a bit of a splash, a saturated attack. That is dialed in easily by using the high controls. With soften you dial in tape compression, which will also reduce the high frequencies tape style. And by increasing the level you can bring that range back. I set it around 7 kHz. The output is set to saturation to get some of the spikes under control. You can also choose off or soft knee limiting. The overall saturation will add saturation after the high and low control, and you can choose from 8 variations. You start with the smoother ones, and by turning up the dial you get more severe saturated algorithms. For this kick, hard valve will do the trick. For the next snare it's basically the same deal, only I will focus more on the splashiness of the snare attack. This helps the snare to punch through in the mix. You have this broader attack instead of this needle point trying to fight these loud guitars. Overall saturation is set to soft clip to enhance that even more, and the output is set to limiting. You might think this might not sound that amazing in solo, but always listen how it fits in the mix to get a proper judgment. There's a big difference on the next overheads with Saturator on or off. That is because Saturator here is set to compress those high frequencies a lot to get a smear in the mix, a more constant cymbal wash. The advantage to have this type of cymbal wash is that you can have it slightly lower in the mix, so it won't overpower the other instruments. The quadruple oversampling is turned on to make sure there's no aliasing. And the softness is turned up of course, even the low end is turned up. The guitars are pretty much already saturated to their teeth, but you can still hear a difference. If I turn up the softness, which is set just below 4K, you can hear that the abrasiveness in the guitar gets reduced. This is a great way to dial in more aggressive or a bit more friendly sound. Friendly is of course relative with this song. Just play with the softness and level to bring back some of the high frequencies if you want that. With this distorted bass guitar, I used a Saturator to bring the instruments slightly more forward, and the high is set to its lowest frequency, which can grab the presence area of bass guitars. On the drum bass, toms and vocal, Saturator is used to level the tracks, to have them sit better in the mix. This is mostly done by increasing softness and low end. And the dry-wet control is used to blend the Saturator with the original audio.
Good behavior simulation. Good behavior simulation. Good behavior simulation.
So that's parallel processing mostly. On the master bus, I have to warn you on using Saturator. You can really overdo the increase in high and low saturation because it sounds so nice. The low tape bump is around 100 Hz to have more thickness on the master, and the sidechain high pass is set to 60 Hz to let the plugin work above that frequency. The used overall saturation is warm tape. The oversampling is on, and smooth has been turned up as well for a smoother saturation sound. The limiter is also on, you can see it react just a tiny bit on the drum hits. These settings will give a big difference in sound. Check it. So you can hear that PSP Saturator will improve any track you use it on. Make sure you get Saturator and subscribe to the PSP Audioware YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, I'm Marlon of Whitener Studio. Bye.